If you were ever told you were too sensitive, too intense, perhaps too opinionated, too loud, or too much, this episode is for you. Because sometimes it's not that we were too anything, it's that the room was too small for the fullness of us. The world doesn't always know what to do with a voice that trembles but doesn't break, a soul that feels deeply but won't shrink itself for comfort, or a mind that moves faster than the conversation. But none of that makes you too much. It means you were carrying a rhythm that wasn't meant to be silenced. This episode is about parts of you that learned to whisper when what you really needed was to be heard, to be met, to be mirrored without shame. So let's walk through the weight of it together and maybe even loosen the grip of that myth once and for all. There's a kind of exile that doesn't involve leaving. It happens when someone names your essence too much, and suddenly you begin shrinking parts of yourself just to stay close. It's not always said with cruelty. Sometimes it sounds like, "Why do you take everything so personally?" Or, "You're exhausting to be around." So you start editing, cutting the corners off of your excitement, diluting your needs so they don't overflow. But the cost of staying small is enormous. And what began as self protection becomes self rejection. The label might have stuck, but it was never yours. And there's still time to return to the version of you that never needed an apology. Even when the world called you too much, you were always just enough in the right light. We rarely ask what that too much energy was trying to say. Was the volume a protest against being dismissed? Was the intensity a shield against betrayal? Often, what people call too much is simply the sound of survival, a voice sharpened by silence, a hunger for being understood before being judged. When we learn to hear what those parts were protecting, we begin to meet ourselves with compassion instead of correction. And when we stop silencing those instincts, we start healing them. You weren't overreacting, you were overflowing with something that had nowhere safe to land. And even if your needs were too loud for them, they are still worthy of being heard by you. There comes a moment, usually early, when a child learns that being fully themselves comes with consequences. Maybe it was a teacher rolling their eyes. Maybe it was a parent withdrawing love. Maybe it was someone laughing when you finally spoke up. That moment stays, and the shame that follows starts to take the wheel. So now, before you even feel, your body is already bracing. Before you speak, you're already editing. Before you ask for something, you're already apologizing. But your voice didn't disappear, it just learned to hide. Shame taught you silence, but it doesn't get the last word. You can speak now. You're not wrong for needing room to be whole. Healing doesn't mean becoming quieter, it means becoming clearer, more fluent in the language of your own experience, more rooted in the reality that your fullness isn't a threat. To be whole is to take up the space your body already knows is yours, not as domination, but as declaration. So speak without folding, laugh without checking the volume, ask without apologizing. Not everyone will stay when you stop shrinking, but the ones who do, they'll help you remember that being too much was never the truth. It was just a way to keep you small. You were never made to dim your light just to be kept. Some things are meant to echo. Let yourself be one of them. The world may not always make space for your fullness, but that doesn't mean you're meant to live folded. Let this be your reminder. You can be loud in your healing, vivid in your truth, unapologetic in your becoming. You are not too much. You are a sound that stayed, a note that didn't break. So until next time, stay empowered and remain taking up your space.